Welcome everybody, welcome teachers and staff who could make it to watch, and welcome to my fellow graduates. I can say without a shadow of a doubt that every single one of us are so appreciative to be here today to celebrate the end of one chapter of our lives and the beginning of another, even in these strange circumstances. This past year we have all learned to appreciate the small things in life living in such uncertainty, and we are all incredibly lucky to get to spend this day together to mark the end of our journey in Palace. Today we will reminisce about all of the memories that we've made together, the invaluable life experiences that we have gained, and the relationships that we have built with our teachers and each other. Although I may be biased, I believe that our year is a remarkable one. From our very first trip together to Connemara, to our countless adventures throughout TY, we have been through so much together. We have even made it through a pandemic. Our year is not one of just classmates, but one of true friends. So, I will end my commencement speech with a huge thank you to all of our amazing teachers on behalf of the whole year who have made every experience and every memory possible. Thank you. I hope you enjoy this very special day.
We do well in our Leaving Cert examinations so that we can venture into our next journey in life. As we look to the future, may all our hopes, dreams and aspirations become a reality.
Pray for our families and teachers who have guided us through our school lives, and we acknowledge the support and guidance they have given us to prepare for our futures. Lord, hear us.
Lord, we pray for all those who have died, especially those who have lost their lives due to COVID-19. May they all find everlasting happiness in your kingdom. Lord, hear us.
Lord, pray for all the friendships that we have made during our years in this school. May they be strengthened as we head our separate ways. Bless all the students and staff that remain here. May their time be as rewarding and enjoyable as ours. Lord, hear us.
Señor, rezamos por todas las familias en los países devastados por la guerra. Que Él les ayude en la adversidad. Lord, we pray for all the families devastated by war, especially in this time of need. Lord, hear us.
Prions for que nos prêtres salesians continuent de guider les étudiants. Lord, we pray for the Salesians that they may continue to guide the students of this school. Lord, hear us.
Ja, wir beten für alle, die von physischer Gesundheit wegen die Pandemie leiden. Herr, vor uns. Lord, we pray for all who suffer from mental illness during the pandemic. Lord, hear us.
Gifts reflecting our years in school. Megan Brown brings a college prospectus to represent our future studies. Lillian Sheehan brings up a face mask to represent the hardship we went through during this pandemic. Ariana Goldberg brings a selection of prizes to represent our achievements in school competitions. Jenny Graham brings up a ukulele to represent our passion for music. Niamh Cusack brings up a synergy ticket to represent the social life that we shared. Nicole Griffin brings up a school jersey, which represents our love for sport. Amy Cusack brings up a school book to represent our hard work in our academic studies.
It's so hard to believe it's been so long since we started. The hardest thing we'll do is say goodbye and be parted. We'll look back and remember the first 4 years with laughter, but along came 2020, a complete disaster. You can't have a poem without mentioning the virus. Who would have thought the distance would unite us? So from all in Verriera, thanks and God bless. Wishing everyone well, here's to our success.
We started off as a class in 2019, excelling in numbers was our main theme. Tea and biscuits we ate plenty till lockdown hit in 2020. We thought online was absolutely dreadful, but being part of this class is anything but regretful. In March we thought we'd be back in 2 weeks, but very quickly the news crushed our beliefs. We'll never forget last Halloween, having fun dressed as teachers, wishing patiently for the vaccine. James and Joe's competitive streak came to light when we faced Vigano and had a big fight. And even though it was only for a while, here's a thought to make you smile. Although it may not sound very cool, all we wanted was to go back to school.
And now we have Vincent, who had PP6. We're a welcoming bunch who added Josh to the mix. None of us here are mathematicians, but at least we can do simple additions. Miss Cusack is owed so much praise for getting us through our double maths days. We all missed a curry in the canteen, where Eamon's work didn't go unseen. Our Mel taught us all about alcohol, but talk about Guinness was left to Paul. Let's not forget those who left the school and departed, especially Nathan, who left us broken-hearted. Bella got excited during PE class, and poor Aisling was left flat on her. That's it.
Valdoco. In Valdoco we have a class oh so grand. We've made it through the year giving each other a big hand. Even though our class may be small, we supported each other through it all. Even the crowd that turned up late still provided the humor to make the class great. Now there is only 12 in our Valdoco class, but Mr. Area always told us, lads, we're not in foundation maths. 6th year was grand. I hope it gets better. Thanks to all the teachers for keeping our 3rd year letter.
If maths class didn't give us a headache, it was considered a good day, at least until we made it to religion and Scientology found a way. Our class got smaller every other month as high-level maths became an even uglier front. Versiglia mentioned the rounders' fight that turned grisly, but failed to mention how we triumphed in Frisbee. Mr. O'Connor's inspirational quotes really helped to keep us afloat. Free classes meant a game of stop the bus, although it caused quite the fuss. Is Pelican a food? Absolutely not, but that didn't stop Ariana from shooting her shot. This year has really been a lot, an awfully hot coffee pot, and whether we take predicted grades or not, hashtag do both.
In Becky we have quite the crowd, from Adam to JP, some might even say loud. Double maths on a Tuesday made us gag, but see Ryan was there holding the flag. As a class we've grown close in our own little bubble, although at the odd time we sometimes found trouble. The memories we'll cherish for all our days, it's our future journey is what we will say, followed by the phrase we did it our way. So from all the 6 years we'll always remember all of the memories, the good with the bad. They'll all make us happy and sometimes they might even make us a little bit sad.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind hanging on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos of memories and dead skin on trial. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. But in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life.
Good afternoon to you all. I am extremely honored to be giving this speech to you today, and on such an occasion that none of us will forget. I feel that we should all give ourselves a massive round of applause for being here today. But let's leave that till then, shall we? Don't want to kill the moment. We were worried that COVID-19 would make it impossible for us all to be here today. But the way I see it, this is a prime example of a community coming together for the greater good. And that's who we are in Palace. A proud, upstanding community that has defied the odds. There have been some pleasant memories of these 6 years, and some memories that, let's face it, are probably better left unspoken of. No, I actually remember a funny story of my first day here, and strangely, it doesn't feel like it was so long ago. We were all so different back then. Trends like bottle flipping, TikTok, the Jerusalem dance, they weren't a thing back then. The good old days, as my sister calls it. I remember the kid who was sitting next to me in the church, Luke Griffin, was greeting the kid next to me, but I thought he was talking to me, so I said hello. Though it was accidental, it was a happy accident. By the time I forgot to study it, I still passed a maths test. I also remember what happened after. I was brought by Mr. Lavin to meet my special needs assistant. We had introduced ourselves, and it took some time because I was a bit of a quiet. You'd never know that from looking at me now. As I was saying, she had walked me over to my first class of secondary school, English in PP2, Sadio House with Mr. Cronin. I had walked in only to find out that I had missed the first class of school. Once we had settled in, finally, there was second year, where puberty had started for the majority of us. For some of the students, that meant the birth of a rebellious streak, though fortunately I was one of a few token exceptions. For the history class, which was mandatory at the time, we had learned about my favorite time period, the American Revolution. PE had turned into a more strenuous class due to the introduction of gymnastics and dancing. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but this body was not made to mambo. Okay, the only dances I can do properly are the moonwalk and the waltz, and that is on a good day, okay? From learning how to divide fractions to Miss Cusack's surprise geography tests on population. This year certainly kept us all on our toes, I believe. After that came third year, where we had to do the infamous junior cert. Most of us weren't ready for the amount of study we had to do, and the amount of teacher rages about exam papers didn't help either. In English class, we had the classic play Alone It Stands, and I had never seen the boys of Rucaldone so excited for a play until I found out it was about rugby. The first time I had ever shouted out, "Monster, Monster, Monster." There was a classic novel of Mice and Men. You all remember Lenny, right? The token idiot? It's fair to say that there was a token Lenny in every class after we had done that. For the home ec class, there was the cooking assignments, and for our final, we had to do a decorative bread basket. I was there thinking, you do realize we're not preparing for a nana visit, right? The stress levels were high for us all, to put it lightly. But it was all worth it when we had gotten our results. There were so much cameras and reporters asking the kids what they had thought about the results, and some of them even appeared on the news the next day. And who here remembers T.Y. when we had begun to grow as our own people? There are a lot of pastimes that we still do to this day. The most obvious ones being the card game Lives and the quiz game Kahoot. Y'all remember that? The hilarious names people would choose like Hound, Dunny Boy, and Midge. I myself chose alliterative names like Silver Sable and Music Meister. I remember during Live, some people used to bet money. And when the teachers asked what we were doing, we would would say that we were practicing our financial maths. And some of them actually bought that. Then there was the first day. There was always that one dummy, and then there was the doll we practiced on. I think a lot of us were not ready for the bloody images that were going to be shown, I myself am one of them. However, I'm thankful for sticking with it, because not only did I get my first distinction, but it gave me a new respect for paramedics and other frontline workers. We had the big trip to Killary where we got to spend 2 nights as roommates. Though I got the short end of that stick, with the only decent roommate being Owen. There was the infamous mud run where everybody got covered in mud. And there was a time Miss Rock had done it, and when she was finished, around half of us mistook her for our old PE teacher, Mr. Brosnan, and vice versa. Though somewhat embarrassing, fortunately she had a sense of humor. There was a big dodgeball game, and I thought I was going to lose early because I suck at sports. I know, shock horror. But to my surprise, eventually it was down to just me and Gary. There was the TY musical All Shook Up, and that was one of my more favorite moments because I learned some of the guys in our class had really powerful singing voices. I was in charge of providing the backdrops for Christopher. On the first day of showing off the musical, during Let Yourself Go, one of the actors had slipped and fallen on off the stage. Now fortunately it was only for the visiting primary school, but it was hard not to laugh. When the kid playing Jim told the mayor to quote, "shut the hell up," the first and second years went nuts. It actually took us a while to resume because the teacher said to calm them down. Then there came the TY graduation. Miss Morgan O'Brien has asked me to give a speech at that. I was nervous because I had never done it before, but afterwards I was glad I did. Then came 5th year, and the start of what seemed like any other normal year. We had moved on from junior cert students to senior level. It was difficult to get back to homework and study after a year of activities and projects, but we got our head around eventually. And I think I speak for everybody when I say that we could not mention 5th year without the coronavirus, aka Mambo Number Death. The only thing that could go, hashtag living the best life, babes. Yeah, even I found that one a bit camp. In 2020. The transition from school to online learning was new to all of us. I remember a story from when the pandemic first hit Ireland. There was a story of a man in Limerick City who was being helped by paramedics, and what he said made the talk of my block for months. It was clear he had a bit too much to drink, or some of the locals around here call it, a bit too much of the creature. And he said he had the Sidona virus. I was a little worried for my father at the start. I admit to that because, as he's a first responder, there was the risk of catching the virus. But thankfully we didn't. We had all gained a new respect for delivery drivers and healthcare workers that, let's face it, most of us didn't have before. Finally, we went into 6th year. We started out the year in our own pods, and it was weird for us all to stay in only one spot of the school, especially for those of us who were a bit more fidgety and you know whom I speak of. The Christmas exams were a bit easier for some due to them being the last Christmas test we have to do, though let's face it, most of us probably had internal breakdowns anyways. Then there came the carol service. I was asked by the music teacher, Miss Ryan, to perform for the event. There were a lot of acts that day, and while I admit I did well singing to Michael Bublé's It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas, my favorite act of the day was definitely the house band, Johnny and the Boscos. Yes, that's the name, and no, I didn't come up with it. However, after Christmas, the COVID numbers had gone up dramatically again, so it was back to online learning. However, it was a lot easier this time around, due to having done it for a while last year. Then came the special announcement of doing the predicted grades, and the world felt beautiful again. Though it was nice to do online learning due to being able to work my own pace, it was a bit difficult to deal with the fact that for subjects like SPHE and career guidance, I was the only one in my class group who showed up. But now we're back here, in the area where it all began. I remember all the high-pitched kids talking about the latest meme on Facebook. But enough about the last time the first years were in here, shall we? If I make it serious for a moment, this has been a very abnormal year, to put it lightly. There have been a lot of changes, from simple hand washing to a very extended holiday, not that I'm complaining, to pods, to online learning again, and now back to some sense of normality. I feel we should all be proud to be here. I mean, those who said it were impossible, well, I'd like to think we proved them wrong. There's no better place to end our secondary school lives than the place where we started. We came in as nervous little kids, but we'll walk out those doors as respectful young men and women. And so I'd like to have a special mention to thank the following people for all they've done for myself, and for all of you in the 6 years you've been here. Firstly, my special needs assistant, Orla Brown, for making the transition easier. I know I wouldn't have gone through all those exams without her. She was there to keep me calm even though I was blubbering like a baby, I'm not gonna lie. She makes me a better person by reminding me to never give up and to keep calm. I think I speak for all of us when I say that everyone needs an Orla Brown in their lives. The principal and Miss Morgan O'Brien for always being there for us when we were either sick or distressed. It was her that made it possible for us to be here by accepting us here, freaky flaws and all. Even though there were some of us, and you know who you are, who aren't always well behaved. The former principal, Mr. O'Neill, for continuing to be a part of our lives, even after he retired. A cancer survivor such as him is an inspiration for us all, in the sense that we can handle anything life throws at us if we just power through. The deputy principals, Mr. D. Ryan and Mr. Lavin, for keeping us informed about the times ahead and for bringing the information about the Leaving Cert to light. I think I speak for all of us when I say the option of predicted grades had lifted a lot of stress off our backs. And on a personal note, I'd like to give a special thanks to my wonderful family. Firstly, there's my sister Rebecca, who has always been there for me when I got stressed, even when she was doing her Leaving Cert. She would tutor me in Irish because I struggled with it, especially when we were doing the Shropper tour. Pure nightmare fuel at its finest. It's because of her that I had nothing to worry about in terms of doing the Irish role. My father Austin, who's a paramedic. It's because of people like him that we're all safe from COVID. Putting yourself on the front lines to protect those who can't protect themselves. Only real heroes do that. The Avengers don't hold a candle to it. Yeah, I know, I don't speak for the rest of you, but I know I can never do that. And I get nauseous around a paper cup, for Christ's sake. So, from me to you, thank you, Dad, for everything. Finally, my mother Mary, a great woman. The one who managed to get me through secondary school without any detentions or suspensions, so I consider that to be a big achievement, as let's face it, not a lot of us can pull that off. She single-handedly assisted me with anything that worried me, from bullies to the transition to online school, all while doing her full-time childminder, a modern-day Rosie the Riveter. You always knew how to deal with my problems, even though I probably seemed a tad dramatic, but then again, I'm a teenager, we all are. So from me to you, thank you, Mom, for always being there for me. And so we're here, back where it all began. So if it's all right with all of you, I'd like to end this with one of my signature little pearls of wisdom that I've shared with others over the years. Life is like a Christmas parade. Get out and enjoy it. And always remember to never put off until tomorrow what can be done today. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Tara Fitz. Some of you may have other names for me, but we won't get into that. Miss Behan had some trouble finding a student to do a speech today. She started off by asking the funniest student, and they said no. Then she asked the most charming student, and they said no. And after that she asked the best looking student, and again, they said no. And then she asked me, and after turning her down 3 times, I couldn't refuse again. So she went for the sensible option. We've collected a lot of memories over the last few weeks from every finger, and I've been asked not to share any embarrassing stories, so that's it. Thanks for listening. I think it's fair to say we have a unique year. 2096 days ago was our first official day of school. Half of you might recall it, but I'd say a few others don't remember one bit of it. We were directed to the church the minute we arrived in the building. To say we were nervous was an understatement. The biggest hurdle to get over that day was going up for our journals when our names were called. We were innocent that day. Brand new uniform, new haircuts, new school bags, and I think Brandon's bag was bigger than him for a while. She'll call them all. A bag full of books, and Jenny Ryan, she not put the holes in her jumper. We were told to put our names on everything, especially in random pages of our books in case, God forbid, they got stolen, but they never did. I must say that, from day one, the teachers instilled to us that our well-being is a lot more important than whatever result we get in a test. We couldn't let the school year pass without mentioning Holly O'Connor. Like I said earlier, there is a great focus on student well-being in the school. We've learned this for years from our teachers and from the beautiful words that Holly left behind in the school. She touched all our hearts, and I think we should take a moment to ourselves to remember Holly. Rest in peace, Holly. PE in the first few years of school was memorable, between having to learn different cultural dances, doing gymnastics on the sweaty gymnastic mats, and the training for the 5K walk. There was never a shortage of fun, and I must hand it to the PE teachers. They were great to entertain us. But when word went around that the PE tests were going ahead, we would all be either sick that day or forget our PE gear. By the time April came around, the annual first-year trip to Connemara took place. It was a real bonding experience for us all. There were 4 big bedrooms. The year was split in 2. Rua Cherry went from Monday to Wednesday, and Ricaldoni and Rinaldi went from Wednesday to Friday. The shower setup was absolutely disastrous. Everyone had to shower together in a line. At the time we went kayaking, the lads had the privilege of getting dressed in the bus. I should not let the girls get dressed on the side of the road. The beds were like a bookshelf, and the mattresses were gymnastic mats. We weren't there for comfort. We were there for the sole purpose of making friends, and we did. You had to climb onto the window to get to the beds above. It was a pure cowboy beat, and I'd say Nathan Conway with all his antics and skills could have built us something better. Amy Cusack Sexton had us all remembering her song, I Know What You Did Last Summer. Her words were a small bit different though, and if I were to sing them, I'd be hunted off the stage, so it's best not to do. To stop Amy from singing, Hazel and Danielle climbed down and had to stop her. In Connemara, there was a strict rule about no phones. After all, it was a bonding experience, but the teachers must have known that there were many who had spare phones with them. If you remember the midnight walk, you would have known 1 or 2 phones broke that night. The walk didn't help with the nerves either. And there were many couples in Connemara, but I was asked not to mention any couples here, so sadly I cut the speech short by about 3 seconds. James was popular among the ladies, a womanizer should I say. Many a time he was caught in the act in the locker room. Shelley was obsessed with his long hair, but Miss McMahon had different intentions. She wanted to cut it. You wouldn't blame her. His hair was constantly brushed across his eyes. There are many different characters in our year, but it goes out saying that Jack Quinty was a real one. Probably one of the funniest young fellas. He never once failed to put a smile on people's faces, even if it landed him in a bit of trouble. We heard stories of him in his junior cert business class eating paper, sniffing Zoe Blondell's hair, and having a soft spot for Lisa Judge, often trying to nudge a little kiss here and there. Jack was a terror for swinging in his chair, and one day didn't his silliness catch up with him. In Father Dan's room in third year, Jack was swinging in his chair and he fell back through a curtain. And he ended up splitting his pants. We will never forget the smell in the biology lab when Jack opened a jar of fermented silage on the table and forgot about it. He pinned Ellen to the wall, and he used to chase Aoife and Jenny and bark at them. And we've had our fair share of barkers down through the years. Bethany and Clodagh, known to C. Ryan as Tweedledum and Tweedledee, used to bark. Well, they used to welcome people at the locker room doors by doing bark. The week of the junior cert was one to remember. The teachers had prepared us for it for nearly 2 years. The weather was absolutely beautiful. Between sunbathing and playing in the playground, you wouldn't have thought for a second that we were sitting state exams. By the time the envelope was opened, Virgin Media was crowding around to see our anxious faces. I opened mine upside down, and that's when my acting skills kicked in. James Umbert advised us on how dangerous drinking was, and advised us it was a bad idea. And it's a pity he doesn't take his own advice. Everyone expected A's in the CSV exam, but about half the year landed out with a C. C for CSV. Over the last few years, Miss Meehan has been so kind to us. We appreciate all that she does, but with the good things come the bad. For example, the time her kettle is broken. Brandon and Keith, you're smart, but you're not that smart. If you didn't hear this story before, what they did was they came up with the bright idea of boiling spuds in Miss Meehan's kettle, and they blew the fuse. We all have 2 sides in our brain, but I'd say on their left side, there's nothing right, and on their right side, there's nothing left. Our year has always had good taste in music, but especially around the time when we started in first year. MC Pat Flynn was on the scene and was fairly popular among us all. Safe to say the MCs have made a return in our final few weeks of school, thanks to Kingston and Jay Ryan, our local lunatics. Even Ashley McGuinness has returned to listening to him again. The iconic song from Connemara that is still an absolute tune is I Took a Pill in Ibiza by Mike Posner. You probably didn't know what we were singing about, but that's life. Before TikTok, there was Musical.ly and Dubsmash, and the cringe looking back at that time, but they are great to look back on them. It shows how far we have come as individuals, and it shows our innocence, but at the end of the day, these are memories that will last a lifetime. On a final note, it really has been a pleasure to get to know you all. You were such a good year to have a laugh with, such a diverse group of people, but by far the best to be around. We've gone through a few lockdowns together, unable to see each other for weeks on end, but that separation only brought us so much closer. I look forward to a reunion in 10 years' time, to see how far you've all come, and especially to see the future millionaire himself, JP, or John Michael. God knows what we'll be up to in 10 years. Most of us will be approaching our 30th birthdays. Martha will be first up to hit the 3rd decade. Brandon then a few hours later. When people tell us that the school years are the best years of our lives, we tend not to listen. We took the small things for granted, and now those days are over. Time to spend 10 minutes on a mask break, all the friendships, late nights and tears for tests, the good chats with teachers, PE, the odd gossip here and there, the hellos to everyone in the morning, the bathroom chats, the feelings when you know you did well on a test, trying to keep in a laugh when the room is quiet, blaring the speakers in Savio when we know who that is. Class outside on a sunny day, last class in the bell rings and the excitement of break. Sometimes the simplest of things mean the most, and I think it's important not to cry that it's over, but instead smile because we had the opportunity to experience it. I wish you all the best to look in the future, like Leo Varadkar once quoted, "To all my friends, you'll find your way some summer night, I hope to see you again." I hope that when we leave today, our friendships won't end. We should stay supporting each other through the achievements and the hardships that we will endure in the future. Thank you for the memories, enjoy the rest of your evening and have a good life. Now I'm going to hand over to Aoife, who also got landed the job in speech.
It was clear from the stories that we've just heard that TY definitely wasn't the start of our secondary school journey, but it was an important step along the way. My dad says there are 3 zones in life: our comfort zone, our learning zone, and the panic zone, and it's important for us to experience all of these along our journey. In our first few years here in Palace, we found our comfort zones through making friends and becoming familiar with the school. As we prepared ourselves for TY, we looked forward to the endless fun activities with our friends and throwing away our books for an entire year. TY was undoubtedly a year full of opportunities and experiences for us all. From the very first day, we got to see what would lay ahead when we were greeted with an obstacle course that kick-started the bonding and memories that would continue throughout the entire year. TY introduced us to so many different experiences, like integrated dance, golf, laughing yoga, and self-defense, some of which we definitely wouldn't have tried without the school's encouragement. Another one of these standout activities was the SARE Talk. Looking back, we can see how much we've grown as people throughout our years in school, but TY definitely was a year when we saw each other in a much more understanding way. The SARE Talk was a challenge to us all. It was an enjoyable experience, but not in a conventional way. Instead of laughing and running around, we were given a confidential, open space to talk. That day, we talked about moments in our life, what we love, what we miss, what we regret, and most importantly, how we can use these to grow as people. Through talking about our personal experiences, our respect for each other grew simultaneously. Not only did we get to do enjoyable activities, but we also got to travel with the school. We first went to Killary at the start of the year, a trip that was full of excitement as it was the first big trip of the year. Although the weather might not always have been shining, the spirits were still high, and we made the most out of everything we did, whether it was walking, swimming, or bog running. Our travel did not stop here. Of course, one of the most memorable experiences for most of us in TY was Poland. To us, this trip was an excuse for a holiday with friends, but looking back, I understand why the school offers this experience. We were given a lot of freedom on that trip to explore the city, some exploring the inside of tattoo shops around the city, but we won't get into that. The trip gave us the opportunity to see the beautiful sights of Poland and learn a lot more about their culture and history through seeing it before our very eyes. A prime example of this was when we had the privilege of talking to a Holocaust survivor. Hearing the first-hand account of her experiences of an event that we learned about in the sheltered comfort of our classrooms was eye-opening, and something I can safely say will stay with us forever. To us, it was a fun-filled experience, but with the perspective I have now, I can see how we learned a lot on that trip, about another country's culture and rich history, but also about having responsibility for freedom, all while making some of our favourite memories. In Killary and in Poland, we got to learn a lot about the outdoors, cultures, and other people by being surrounded by them. Exactly what TY is all about, learning through experiences. Last but not least, I can't talk about TY without mentioning the show, All Shook Up, a name that perfectly describes us while being stuck in the study hall while dancing with Pam and Jordy. The show gave people the opportunity to showcase their talents and allowed others to discover new ones. It didn't matter if you were a gifted singer or gifted with 2 left feet, there was something for everyone. Although there may have been times of tension with Pam and Jordy, we managed to make the most out of dancing around the study hall, and if I do say so myself, put on an amazing show. And to this day, you can hear the murmur of Jailhouse Rock or All Shook Up from someone singing it randomly. The TY show taught us that you don't have to be the best at something to enjoy it, and that if you allow yourself to take part in new things, you'll end up have some amazing memories surrounded by equally amazing people. There is a quote that says, "The world is a classroom, and the most rewarding learning comes through experiences." I think this embodies what TY was for all of us. It allowed us to enjoy ourselves while learning about ourselves, others, and the world around us. After a year of trying new things, with no homework or tests, we came back to reality when entering 5th year. Of course, school was different when we came back. Getting into routine, working and studying after hearing nothing was difficult, but having each other made it easier. We made sure to still have fun in class, while making jokes and occasionally losing track of time while getting there, but we were adapting. Of course, when writing this speech, I knew I'd have to mention COVID. And I will, but not for long, because COVID was just a bump in the road during our school journey. And although it may have made things different for us, it will not distract us from the incredible things that we got to experience before and the aspirations we have for after COVID. In March, after weeks of watching the news, COVID finally hit Ireland. And looking back on the day we got told to stay home, I laugh, because of the feelings of excitement we felt as we got told about our extra long Easter, little did we know how long that break would last. The feelings of excitement were mixed with confusion for what was really going on around us. unknowing how much we'd regret those feelings of excitement when unpacking our lockers on the 12th of March. Although the teachers were amazing in adapting to online learning and did their best to accommodate us all, nothing compares to the quick chats between class, or randomly seeing your friend on the way to the bathrooms, playing soccer at lunch, or just making jokes in class. And unfortunately, it wasn't until we didn't have these did we understand how much they really meant to us. I won't dwell on the negatives much longer, but it's important to realise that in 5th year, we were on one long and comfortable part of our journey, but by being able to get through this, we've undoubtedly grown as people. How? Because we appreciated the times that we had in school a lot more. We chatted for a little longer, we laughed a little louder, and we listened to each other a whole lot more. Because for a long time we couldn't do this. Without 5th year, we wouldn't have been as grateful as we were getting up on the first morning of 6th year, putting our uniforms on. When we came back into 6th year, it was clear most of us were in the panic zone, not knowing what the year was going to throw at us. The leaving cert is stressful enough, but not knowing if it's going to happen, or if it is, how, is a whole lot more stressful. Instead of letting this get us down, we focused on the good, getting up every morning to see each other, determined to make the most of our last few weeks together. As we come closer to the leaving cert, I hope we can all take the time to look back and see how much we've grown, how in first year this time of our lives seems so far away, that we didn't have a clue what we wanted to do after school, or we didn't even know how to study. Our journey in school has been an extremely enjoyable one. Pallaskenry has been such an open environment where fun, sport, creativity and music is encouraged equally as much as academia. A place where teachers treat us as equals and genuinely care about how we get on in the future. And a place where friends truly are always there for each other. I know I've been speaking for a while now, but if there is one thing you can take away from this speech, it is that, as my fellow classmates, I wish each and every one of you the very best of luck with whatever you do after secondary school. As my mom always says, what's for you does not pass you. So whether it be in a trade, college or travel, I hope it's something that you genuinely enjoy. Although our school journey may be coming to an end, there is a famous quote that says, "There are no real endings, just places where one journey ends and another one begins." So I look forward to seeing where our future journey will take us. On behalf of all the students here, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Ms. Morgan O'Brien, Mr. Lalvin, Mr. Girine, and of course Mr. Chambers, for always keeping us in check, giving us advice, or just sitting down to ask us how we're getting on. Something that really magnified the trusting and caring relationships they have with all of the students here, no matter how much we might boil their blood. They helped us out whenever they could, and we were lucky enough to have such an open, welcoming management there for us throughout our entire journey. Being comfortable enough to ask for help is something priceless when you're going through stressful times in our lives, and it is without argument that they went to every effort to help us when we really needed them. We truly can't thank them enough for this. Obviously, it would not be a thank you speech if I didn't mention Mr. O'Neill, who was here with us for the majority of our time. And although he may not work here anymore, he most certainly left his mark. Every day we are reminded of the positivity and kindness he implemented here. Whether it's someone holding the door open for you or a teacher going the extra mile, we see the solution message, something that Mr. O'Neill practiced effortlessly every day. Thank you to all the teachers. Throughout the years you've seen us grow as people and have been there every second of the way. Whether we were having a good day or a bad day, it was you that suffered the consequences. So thank you for being so patient with us. We truly appreciate the hours spent planning, organising, creating and correcting that you've all invested into us. They don't go unnoticed. Thank you for all being so open and encouraging when we struggled in class or are having a hard time. But most importantly, thank you for being there for a part of all the laughs and good times too. Thank you for always going above and beyond for us. To all the staff in school, you were always there to help organise and plan along the way so that we had one less thing to worry about. We want you to know that we're so grateful for all the helping hands and effort you put into us, all while doing it with a smile on your face and making time for the chats too. To our parents and guardians, thank you for always being our cheerleaders, the people we could rely on the most when we needed you. If it was with homework or first year drama, thank you for always being a listening ear in the good times and the bad. We appreciate all the advice, encouragement, guidance and love that you've given us when we needed it the most. But thank you for giving us the roots that we needed to allow us to grow into the people that we are today. Last but most certainly not least, to my fellow graduates, whether it is a new year, 5 or 10 years down the line, we will always have something that connects us. And that is our amazing time here in Pallaskenry. Memories that we are lucky enough to carry on our future journeys to come. Thank you so much for making this journey an amazing one.
Before we finish up, I have to acknowledge the work and help of many who have gotten us to this wonderful graduation today. First off, I would like to thank the Grads Committee. Thanks to Aoife, Kylie and the girls who worked very hard to finish the artwork. Olivia Coveney, who designed the front of the booklet. Ellen Kingston, who set up the Instagram page, and Nicole Griffin, who has been gotten to do everything. She organised the booklet, ran after people for prayers, poems and gifts, all while having a laugh with us. And lastly, I can't go without saying a huge thanks to Miss Meehan and the religion teachers, who instilled the Salesian ethos in us every day, and they keep our spirits alive in these uncertain times. Once again, they put on an amazing graduation. Thank you very much, and I'd like you to give them a round of applause.
Good morning. You may remember in the Wizard of Oz when Dorothy and her little dog were blown away by the storm, and they were blown off up into the air. And when the house landed in Oz, Dorothy said to Toto, "Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore." And that phrase, "I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore," has become a metaphor for anything that's out of the ordinary, anything that's uncomfortable, anything that's strange. So you could well say for your graduation edition, "I have a feeling that we're not in Kansas anymore." It's so different, and your whole year has been so different. Uncomfortable would be too easy a word for us, which is certainly abnormal. And the past year has brought you challenges, learning at home, away from friends, away from socializing, social distancing, masks, uncertainty. But the marvelous thing is you've weathered the storm and you're here today, full of life, full of laughter. You've overcome great obstacles, not of your own making, and you can be proud of yourselves that you've weathered them so well. Actually, these challenges help you to grow up differently, inevitably, because no graduation class has faced the same obstacles as you faced. And thanks to your parents, to all your teachers, to Mr. Martin O'Brien, Mrs. Allen, Mr. David Ryan, and all the school staff for being so helpful to you during the year. Somebody sent me a little text, these little WhatsApps that were going around last week, and maybe it's apt. It says, "We cannot choose the music life plays for us, but we can choose how we dance to it." And you have danced very well to it. You have danced positively to it. You haven't become victims, and that's a great sign. It's a great sign that you have overcome, and it's a great sign for the future, that you can face the future with great hope. You're young and full of life, talented and intelligent. So whatever road you go down, you will grow to be happy and great people. So I'll just finish with a little blessing now as you leave Pallaskenry. And I hope that everything that you've learned here, apart from the head knowledge that you've learned, the values that you've learned, the way of living that you've learned, has helped you during the past year. Because education is much bigger than knowledge. It's about your whole lifestyle, your whole values. And so I hope you go from Pallaskenry with a great feeling of thankfulness, and a feeling that you've learned much more than book knowledge that will help you through life. So, on this, your day of graduation, may God's blessing rest upon you. May His love light up your life. May hope spring from your hearts as you look towards tomorrow. May your days be filled with great adventures and discoveries. And may you live, love, and give of your best to the glory of God, our eternal Father. And may Almighty God bless you as you go forth from here, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
First, before we get into the service, and I'll start with saying Father John, Father Dominic, Mr. Lavin, Mr. Ryan, Mr. Chambers, teachers and students, and to those of you who will be viewing at home later, students who can't be with us, and your parents and family members, you're all very welcome to this strange but very exciting day. Sometimes we're very, very hard on ourselves. We ask ourselves that we match the picture of perfection which the media has placed in front of us. We see an Instagram post or an ad on TV, and we think, that family looks so happy, that girl is so pretty, that dad is so together. And we're tricked into thinking that's normal. We start to feel inadequate, and we decide that we haven't quite measured up, and we start to lose belief in ourselves. Sometimes that becomes a very lonely and bleak place, and we struggle to cope. The isolation which came upon us during this last fragmented year shone a spotlight on those doubts, and for many, they grew and took their toll. But coming back together to school, where you have grown since first year, carried a reminder to us all to look at what is there in front of us, to look at what we have, not what we're missing, and to count our blessings. Today's ceremony is a celebration of your 6th year community. Community is the very basis of loving kindness, the Salesian characteristic which we try to remind you of every day. And community is also courage. And I'd like to say a little bit about courage. In your first week in transition year, you climbed Keeper Hill, I don't know if you remember that, on the shores of beautiful Lough. I remember 2 students at that time in particular. One of them was Mia, new to our country, new to our school, and for Mia that climb was her first unexpected and very personal test of how was the school going to go for her. The other was William, for whom the climb was a test of how well he was going to come to terms with himself. The rest of you I saw in photographs later helping each other up the hill, arms around each other, linking together, sharing sandwiches and crisps and so on, smiling and facing into your senior years together with joy in your faces. Each of you took on that climb of Keep a Hill with energy and courage. And I know that now, in front of me, each one of you climbs your own mountain still. Each one of us has our own personal Keeper Hill. Whether it's the challenge to perform a subject, or to shine on the pitch, to say no to negative influences in your life, or to create or mend a friendship, to negotiate a conflict, to raise your opinion, or simply to come through the school gates every morning, I don't underestimate the courage that that takes. And when we see courage like that, it's worth celebrating. Today, 6 years, you stand on top of your mountain, with your head held up, looking around the view around you, enjoying where you have come, even if the path up your mountain has had equal share of blue skies and grey clouds along the way. When it doesn't go right and when courage fails us, we're reminded to count our blessings. It's such a common little phrase, count your blessings. But if we do, life has a great many gifts to give each one of us. For example, this week's blessings in my life included yesterday a TY student who has avoided eye contact with me since he was a very young boy, came into my office and said, "Miss, thank you for transitioning." A first-year student held the door open at exactly the right moment when I had a pile of papers in my hands. I found my glasses twice. I got a haircut after an unbearably long time. Liam Dunn found his t-shirt after also an unbearably long time. I received a beautiful card from a pillar of strength in 6th year. I got a new appreciation of the depth of political solidarity that lives in 6th year hearts, albeit from the roof of the school. And, greatest blessing, the week I nearly owned JP on the basketball court. These are little things, but a long list of blessings nevertheless. As you move on now and as you reflect a little on your blessings, I'd like to remember those who are not ending the 6-year journey with us, those who moved on to other schools or to the workplace, and I thank them for the footprint they left on our school's history also. I also remember the loved ones that you and your families have lost along your 5 or 6 years who would love to be with you today. And I include former students of the school who have gone to God. I want to say thank you to a number of people. I'd like to thank my colleagues for helping to keep the work exciting and fulfilling, especially during this very strange school year. Thank you especially to Mr. Lavin and to Mr. Ryan, to Mr. Paddy Neal and to Mr. Chambers for your never-ending commitment to this group of students and to all students of the school. Thank you to Fathers John and Dominic, to Miss Meehan, Miss Ryan, Miss Weston, Miss Kelly and Mr. Ryan for planning today's events, and to Miss Rock and Miss Ryan and their team for organising the memory book. Thank you to all your readers and musicians and singers. Thank you to the pastoral care team, your tutors and SNAs, and all your teachers for their hard work over the years. Thank you to Joe and Mike, Regina and Karen for being the glue that keeps the school together. Thank you to your parents and your guardians at home for letting us have you for the last 5 or 6 years and for letting us be part of your growth. I congratulate you for your fabulous children. And finally, I want to thank each one of you and to wish you well. You're a crazy bunch, full of good humour, and your contribution to school life and the role modelling you have done for the younger students in the school this year, particularly this year, has been extraordinary. I wish you good luck in your lives. Please be kind. Thank you. You are 107 blessings.
Sarah Conagor. Next, you have Diana Barnes. Lee Jones. Courtney Cameron. Lee Jones. Ben Fleming. And Amy Lou, who's getting an award for business. Siobhan Tenney. Johan Tui. And John Paul. And over to Mariara, Timmy. Martha Brenda. Alison Coffey. Olivia Colby. And Michal Cody, who's getting an Ethos Award. Lee Cusack. Amy Cusie Sexton. Samantha Daly. Dylan Franklin. Nicole Griffin. Pietro Rodrigo. Evan Kingston. Ernestus. Kate McGee. Emery Madden. Charlie McCarthy. Cameron Murphy. Robert Ryan. And Kate O'D, who's getting the award for biology. Jack Quilty. Abby Resident. And Lena Rock was getting the award for both ethos and music. Congratulations. Casper Rowan O'Sullivan. And Jennifer Ryan is also getting 2 awards, one for Camogie and one for Gaelic. So congratulations everyone, and best of luck to the graduating class of 2021. Start with Vigano and Megan Brown. Creepy Carey. And Carl Condon, who's getting a Gaelic Award. Dance Award. Jeff Lloyd. Maya Massick, who's getting an award for geography. Lillian Sheehan. And Nathan Spigowski. Zoe Blundell. And Zoe is getting an X Science Award. And Jude recipient Emily Butler for music in German. James Dunworth. Carol Stewart. Jennifer Green. Thomas Jin. Lucy George is getting the Geography Award. Don't think Brendan's with us today. Brendan, we don't know. Wishing us good day. Aoife Kyle is getting the Multi Society Award. Emma Lillis. Bertie Madigan. And Fiona Meany, who's getting an English award. Colin Moore was also getting an English award. Fiona O'Brien was getting a TCG award. Euro D. Ashley O'Grady. And finally, Joe Sweeney was getting a GA and an accounting award. Good afternoon, everyone. We get going, so let's start with Total Bennett. Congratulations. Enrique, who's also getting an LCPP award. Congratulations. Joy Burke. Ian Conrad. Jana Michu. Sarah Doolin is also getting the Bogey Award. Laura Fitzpatrick Farmer. Terry Foley is also getting the Biology Award. Carol Gavin and Roshan Gavin. Roshan Lee, who's also getting the next science award. Rebecca O'Brien. Before Connor's getting a bit more. Conor O'Hara. Kieran Quinn. Glenn Reyes. Conor Rowley. Gary Sheehan. And Josh Toomey was getting a soccer award. So, Kimi Afobi. Lisa Bradford. Lee Barber. Keane Nansen. Nathan Howard. Steve Ladd. William Flowers will get the B award. Keith McKeown. Tamara Murray. Don O'Neill. Daniel O'Rourke. Bethany Quinn. Okay guys, so just from my own behalf, and before we finish, as you can see I don't often put on a tie, so it must be a special occasion, and I'd just like to recognise and wish you all the very best as the graduate class of Salesian College Palace